singing. Now, this is a topic that most voice teachers address, but I get a lot of people coming in and there still seems to be confusion. They don't really know what they're supposed to do, or maybe they've been told what to do and it didn't make sense, or they've been given an image, but they didn't really understand what's supposed to be happening in their body. So I'm going to try to break it down a little bit, and I hope to clarify questions and sort of clear up some of the ambiguity. So first of all, most teachers are going to talk about a low breath. Obviously, if you're breathing and using your shoulders and you're tensing up, and you're using your neck and feel like you're gasping for air, that's not a good thing. But at the same time, we all know that when you breathe, your air goes into your lungs, which is kind of right around here where your lungs would be housed in your thoracic cavity, which you can feel your rib cage. If you breathe in, your rib cage expands, so that's where your air is going. So you know what's the deal with the low breath. First of all, I usually start by telling my students to release your abdominals. Now, that is a very low sensation. Your abdominals originate around your pelvis and they attach up by your sternum, your rib cage. So it's this whole area down here, and you want to think release. You don't want to think push out, because what happens when you push out is your muscles activate, which means they actually contract. So that's actually not going out at all, and it's certainly not releasing. But if you release, that allows this abdominal area or viscera to displace, and that in turn allows your diaphragm, which is this dome-shaped muscle that actually separates your thoracic cavity from your abdominal region, that allows your diaphragm to descend even lower. Now, a lot of people have heard all sorts of things about the diaphragm, sing from your diaphragm, or there's a lot of sort of misnomers out there. Just to be clear, your diaphragm is something that you cannot feel and you cannot control it directly at any rate. There's a neurological trigger, which basically means you think that you're going to breathe and your diaphragm descends. Your body knows you need air. This is something that happens no matter what, which is a wonderful thing, because that means you can sleep and you don't stop breathing. But that also means that you can't really try to control it. What you can do is, of course, release, and that will allow it to descend farther. Now, when it descends farther, it increases the volume in your thoracic cavity. And when the volume is increased, it's going to be increased no matter what when your diaphragm descends, but it's descending lower, the volume is even greater. Volume and pressure are inversely proportional in an enclosed cavity, which is what your thoracic cavity is. So what happens is the pressure becomes less than the atmospheric pressure outside your body, and a vacuum is created, so air is literally sucked into your lungs without you having to gasp for it. What that will feel like is very little. You won't even feel much of anything. In fact, when you're breathing in and you do this, you have all this tension, you feel like you're getting a lot of air. It feels like I can feel the air coming in, but that's really just tension. You release here. I just got a huge breath, and there was very little tension, very little effort involved. It looked natural, hopefully, and it felt, maybe it might not feel comfortable for people who aren't used to it, but it will ultimately feel more comfortable, feel more natural, feel easier, and that's definitely a good sign for technique you're going for. What is the easiest, most efficient way to get the greatest result? That's true for almost anything when technique is concerned, or technique in almost any area. So, first things first, abdominals release. Your diaphragm's automatically going to just descend, and air is going to come into your lungs. Your rib cage is going to expand, and your sternum's going to come up and forward a little bit, and that's good. That's great. You do not need your shoulders to move up. And please, by all means, use a mirror. This is not the way we breathe in everyday life. Very few of us breathe this way, so sometimes just thinking about it isn't enough. You have to actually look in the mirror, and that will, if you can see your veins popping out, you know that you're not quite getting it. So use a mirror, and definitely remind yourself that it might not feel like a whole lot is happening, and that's that's fine. Chances are you've gotten plenty of air, probably more than you need for most musical phrases. Now, the thing that's overlooked when we talk about breathing often is not just the exhalation, but not just the inhalation, but the exhalation. So what happens? You already have this nice breath where you have released, air has come in, you haven't had to exert a lot of effort, there isn't a lot of unnecessary tension. Then you're going to sing. Now, the most important thing when you think about breathing is really your exhalation when you're singing, because the thing that separates vocal production in speech from vocal production in song is mainly airflow. Well, other things as well, but airflow is a huge component, and you want a steady flow of air, a smooth, steady flow of air. So how do you achieve that? First of all, you want to think about getting rid of air, but you also want to monitor the supply of air going up through your trachea, through your larynx, which is where your vocal folds are, where sound is made. And you can do that by controlling the actual musculature that you use to breathe in and out, so that you get a steady descent of air. So what does that mean? So first of all, you're expanded. You're just taking a breath. Your rib cage is out. Your abdominals are released. As soon as you start getting rid of air, your rib cage is going to collapse in a little bit because your lungs are getting rid of air, and that makes sense. But you want to think about doing just the opposite, so that we get a nice antagonistic relationship between your muscles of inspiration, your muscles of expiration, so they're working against each other, and you don't get a collapse. You get a smooth descent. So basically that means you're thinking of getting rid of air, but while you're thinking of doing that, you're also thinking, I'm going to stay expanded. I'm going to stay in this place where I felt like I just took a nice breath. That doesn't mean, again, that you're going to try to push out, per se. There's all sorts of schools of thought when it comes to this, and there's also lots of big words that are thrown around, appoggio, and all sorts of things, but really what you want to think about, and you can use your hands if you want to monitor it a little bit, as you're getting rid of air, you just want to think, sometimes it almost helps to think the opposite. I'm getting taller, I'm staying released, and just fight the temptation to collapse in. Now there are all sorts of exercises you can do for breathing specifically. I, for one, tend not to spend tons of time just on breathing. I like to incorporate it within the exercises, within the vocal exercises I do, and practicing like anything else. It's something that you need to fine-tune over time. It's basically habits and relatively finely tuned coordination that needs to occur, and you need to just incorporate it into what you're practicing as you are singing, as you're getting rid of air, so that you build up these habits that your muscles are actually, first of all, that you're expanding when you breathe in, and then when you get rid of air, that you're staying nice and tall and expanded. You also want to perhaps address the issue of posture and extra tensions in your body if you're standing. Like most things, when you're warming up, you ideally want to practice what's the most optimal position. So as far as posture goes, you're thinking about being nice and tall, but not too rigid. Your shoulders are up and back, and your pelvis is hanging. It's not tilted too far to the front, not too far to the back, and you definitely just want to incorporate that in all the exercises you do, so that it becomes second nature over time, and you will see that there is a huge difference. To get more information on exercises and what exactly you can do to work on that breath control, stay tuned, because I will be having many podcasts about many other issues. We're going to talk about resonance. What exactly is resonance? How do you tap into it? Registers, breaks, belting, different styles of singing, all sorts of things, phonation. So stay tuned, and I hope that clarified a little bit. Thank you.